Yo, what's going on, good people, man? It's your boy, Coach J Hart, man, coming back to you live again with the C3 people. Man, I'm back, man, with my good friend and brother. I don't know, Pastor Carlton looked like he having some issues over there, technical wise. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Your mic was muted.
Great. Maybe I forgot to turn the mute. Glad to be here.
my friend and brother, the Right Reverend Adam. Come on, Rev. Introduce yourself,
I
man.
only got the
Introduce
right
yourself.
reverend, maybe the left reverend, but not the right reverend.
You know what, man? Introduce yourself for the people, man, who might not know y'all.
Okay, I am Adam China, uh, pastor of Flat Rock AME Church in Abbeville, South Carolina, and I'm glad to be back on the show again. Thank you guys for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
As always.
Hello, hello everyone. Carlton Worthen, pastor of St. John AME Church in the beautiful city of Eufaula, Alabama, and glad to be in the house along with Coach Jay and my fellow colleague as well, Reverend Adam China.
Man, once again, man, thank you guys, man, for being here. Every time we call y'all, I can say every time we call y'all, but mostly every time we call y'all, y'all not too busy. Y'all come in and represent, man, for the men and everything like that. Adam, I thank you because you come on more than some other folks. I ain't gonna say their name, but they're the only other person that's on here. But you ain't traveling the eastern shores like everybody else is. You trying to save the folks in your city and state. Other people trying to go to other countries and save folks and stuff. But that's man. We
Don't
thank
get
God
me
for
in
both.
trouble now. Don't get me in no trouble.
No, man, but
That's him. That's Jay now. That's not me.
no, man, we thank you guys, man, for being on, man. Like I always say, you guys could have been somewhere else with anybody else, man, doing something else, man. But I'm glad that you guys took the time out of your busy schedule, man, to come on and fool around with me for this here hour. We have two other gentlemen that may be joining us a little later. Their schedules kind of was backed up, we'll say, and they thought they were going to be done with what they had to do on today, but seeing that they are not done, they have not joined us yet, man. We still thank them for saying yes to the call, man. But we're going to jump right into this. So I was talking to one of the lovely ladies from the C3 family today, and she told me she couldn't stand me. I said, that's normal. That's normal. That comes out your mouth normally a lot when we speak and or text, whatever. But it's all love, man, here with the C3 family. But when she made the flyer, I said when I seen it, the first thing I thought about was the song. I don't even know the name of the song, but I think it was "The Best Man I Can Be" or whatever it was. Man, I forget what movie it was. Even I think with Four Brothers or one of the movies it
That
came
was
out
the
on.
Best Man soundtrack, I think.
Yeah, or one of them soundtracks. It
Yeah.
was on the soundtrack. And when I seen the flyer, that's the song that popped in my head. Talking to her today, she was like, "Well, yeah, that's where I got everything from. Was from that song." I said, "Oh, well, great minds think alike." Yeah, great minds think alike. Then okay, cool. So let's go in and dive right into this. Adam, I hope you got something to drink because uh Pastor C, he always up there you go. Pastor C always come prepared. He said he ate before he came on because
Oh
sometimes we are a
yeah,
little
I know.
long-winded. Sometimes we are a
We
little
love popcorn
long-winded.
here.
But let's jump in here, this man. So, what can a brother do for me? What can a brother do for me, man? This is, and I just found that out. And it's sad I didn't know that, but this is uh men's mental health awareness season, not just month. I heard that it goes for a few months from now until October or November. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they're really trying to pinpoint some issues in men's health. men's mental health to be exact. So my question to the both of you starting out is, what changes have you seen in the last, we'll say five, in the last 5 years have you seen in men's mental health? And I'll start with Adam first and then Carlson you next.
Okay. One I think one of the things I've seen, and this is still slow, but it's progressing slowly. But now you're seeing men, at least the ones that I've seen, they're starting to understand now the importance of taking care of their mental health. As a whole, men, black men in particular, we tend to grind, which is great. You need to grind, but many times we're so busy taking care of everything else, we don't necessarily take care of ourselves. I'm one personally who, over the years, I didn't do the best job of going to the doctor like I should for a long time. I've learned now that that is essential. And so now I'm seeing that there are a lot of men, not all, there's still some who are coming around, but there are a lot of men who are now taking their own health a little more seriously and understanding that I can't do anything for anybody else until I first learn to take care of me, and being sure that I'm taking care of mental health wise and physically, and spiritually as well, being sure that I'm doing all I can for me. That way I can reach optimal personhood to take care of those around me.
Okay, good stuff. Carlson?
Yes, I want to just kind of pick up where Reverend China left off and allow me to also uh, transparent and disclose that I'm not a mental health therapist or counselor or have any training whatsoever in mental health. And so I will speak more so from the vantage point of my own personal experience versus making an effort to try to give others some type of expert advice per se. But I think Reverend China kind of touched on something there about the importance of self care as well. Oftentimes, for many men, we are raised and we are taught from young children all the way in, and as we move through adulthood, the importance of being the provider. For our families, the importance of being the one who provides security and protection for our families. And I believe it was our brother Baldwin several years ago talking about this duality that we, especially as Black men, constantly find ourselves living in. Depending on the type of job that you have on your job, you present one face to some people of the other persuasion from time to time, while at the same time being your authentic self within your own family structure. And if you're not careful, you will get to the point where you'll find yourself going cocoa for Cocoa Puffs because you're constantly trying to wear all of these hats at the same time to the point that you don't even take a moment to take care of yourself. And I think a part of that, first of all, is knowing your worth and your value as an individual and as a man. And when you have clarity and understand who you are and what you bring to the table and can be comfortable with that, then I believe it relieves a lot of the stress and pressure. Because one thing that I have learned in my own personal walk is that if you are making an effort to be everything for everybody, and you eventually lose yourself in that, you are headed for a very, very bad ending that you don't want to experience.
Sometimes I'll be forgetting how thorough Carlton be, Adam. He's a little bit more thorough than you, man. I thought you and Richard was neck and neck, but then Carlton come on and he exegetes and
Man,
eisegetes the text and stuff, and I'll be like, hey, man, if you don't go ahead and preach to us, brother, shoot.
I
Round, he
hear
said,
you, my
hey,
brother.
hey, Adam, he said round two. I'm in, tag me in, I'm ready. No, but no, but let me ask you a question. So self-care has been foreign to us for years.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was never taught in the not black church, but black community. Self-care, we were always the ones that we turned the other cheek, we rolled up our sleeve, we got to work, We, no matter what happened, we always do. And we forgot to make sure that in our doing, we were okay with self. Why do you think now all of a sudden we have turned to this self care aspect as making sure that everyone knows that, hey, we need to check self as black men? Because we don't. There's a lot of stuff we don't do that we should do. So why now all of a sudden self care is so prevalent right now? Like that word, that phrase, the movement has become something crazy. Probably what, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe the last 10 years, 15 ish, depending on where you work at. So why now self care is so like running rampant?
I think you're close with 5 years, if for the most part. Um, I, I think by and large, black men, as you said earlier, we were always taught, and as Reverend Worden said, we had to carry the load and provide and this, and that, and the other. But now, when you look at black men in particular, across the board, we're suffering more with health issues, physical health issues, and now we're seeing a lot of mental health issues that their heads are raising up in our community. And before, we as a black community, we always kind of just dismissed that. We downplayed it or whatever, told you to just be strong. But we are now learning that it's okay to be vulnerable and say, I need help. We're seeing that more and more, because understand that when we're trying to carry this load, there's some things that while I do believe that the Lord will not give us more than we can bear, the Lord has also raised up people to help us when we need help, and being willing and being vulnerable enough to say, I need help, mentally, physically, whatever it may be. And I'm one, again, as just as Reverend said, transparent moment. As I said earlier, I haven't always done the best job of that. And I've learned over the years, of course, you keep working, you keep grinding, you're tired, you work through it and so forth. And to a certain degree, that's fine. But I learned some years ago, I was I guess, in the meditation moment, and God spoke to me and said, I'm not glorified by you wearing yourself out. It's okay to step back sometimes and say, I need a break, to disengage for a moment, to gather yourself. Some years ago, was pastoring a church in Colombia, and we were in the process of building a new sanctuary. And I mean, that thing really just took a lot out of me. And it got to the point where I learned from, matter of fact, from Reverend Worthen's Bishop Harry Seawright. He was talking about how he had 2 heart attacks when he was building the church. And it reminded me then that when you feel a lot of pressure and you come under that stress, it's okay to take a day off and unplug and just kind of rejuvenate yourself. So I think that's what we're seeing now more in with black men in particular, which is very needed and necessary if we're going to preserve ourselves.
Right, and I'll jump in right there again with what Reverend China was sharing. And since you tackled it all, I believe, so well from that physical, practical standpoint, even from the biblical standpoint, even Jesus had enough sense to know when it was time to get in the boat and go and be by himself, so that he could rest. And then, even when he was on the boat, he still found some time to rest. He had enough sense to go down into the belly of the ship to lay down. And when the waters got to raging all around him, he found himself at rest. And my goodness, if we really want to even stretch it, even God had enough sense to take a rest on the seventh day. So I'm being a little sarcastic to a certain point, but it all comes full circle. And I want to say this: a lot of times we didn't know any better. And there's this old saying, when you know better, you do better. And perhaps our fathers, our uncles, our grandfathers that we now know may have had some struggles with mental health was not aware or did not have the type of access to information that we now have access to go and seek help. And like Reverend China also shared, that it's not as taboo. You didn't use that exact word, but it's akin to that. It's not as taboo now to say, listen, I'm dealing with a lot. there's a heavy load on me, and I need to take a moment to I might need to talk with someone to see what's going on, who's professionally trained. And let me say this to our listening audience as well, Coach Jay. Your pastor is not your mental health expert if he or she does not have the training. Yes, go ahead and pray. Yes, ask the mothers and the fathers or whoever you call them in your local church to intercede on your behalf. But go find you a licensed, trained mental health therapist from an accredited institution somewhere, school or university.
Man, you two have hit on so much. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I'm glad you said that, Reverend Worthen. The going to get the understanding your pastor is limited. I mean, as much as you may be trained, but most of us, even if we have degrees and seminary training, most of us are not necessarily mental health experts. And it is my prayer that that pastor will understand. And I know for me personally, I've had times where people came to me with things, and I said, okay, what you are dealing with is too much for me. That's outside of my wheelhouse. Let me recommend you to someone who can help you, because I think again, it's not enough. Pastors don't know everything, and we're not experts in everything. We all have our niche, and so I'm glad you said that, Reverend Worthen, that it's important to know that if you go to your pastor, they can pray with you. I love praying with people. I go to the hospital, do visitations, and all of that. But there are times people have come to me, and what they're dealing with is more than I can handle. So I know spiritually, it would be spiritually responsible of me to say, let me refer you to somebody who can help you. So thank you for sharing that, Reverend Worthen.
I want to say this. I do appreciate both of you once again for coming on and sharing your truth, being transparent. Yes, Reverend actually said it best. Reverend trying to piggyback up on it, and then I'll do it a third time just in case somebody didn't hear. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay okay and cause detriment to your friends, family, and neighbors, and the one, even yourself, the ones that love you. It's okay to go sit on the couch. You ain't got to lay down. You ain't laying down in the therapist no more. You can't do this. They got chairs where you can sit up and you can talk to them. They have this. Um, but they are right, man. Your pastors are limited in what they can and cannot do for you. It is a wise man and leader who will refer you to someone accreditable, just like both of them stated, that can help you with the things that they cannot help you with. And it's also a great move for a man to be able to humble himself and say, it's too much for me to bear. I need to refer you to someone else. I'm going to keep you in my prayers. We're going to pray with this thing and I'm going to stay on it. But I have to refer you from this point on to someone else. Um, I was listening to a Caucasian pastor maybe about 2 years ago, and they had this um, meeting, and they have a group actually that they talk to Christian leaders and stuff about um, being a leader in the church. And the one thing they spoke on was self-care, to where he said that one of the speakers said, I schedule me time to where I put it in my phone as a schedule for my or the schedule for my week or my day. I put it in my phone, and from this time to this time, it's just me. Whether I play a video game, whether I take a nap, whether I lay on a couch in my office and meditate and pray, this is me. This is what I do. Bunbury, man, bless you, bro. Bless you. Man, but this is what I do. This is the downtime that I have because I understand that I break. I understand that I need some me time. I understand that I have a time where I'm not at my best. So if I'm not at my best, I can't do my best and or be my best to the people that's under me. So he said he actually had to schedule some time. So I'm glad that it was stated because and maybe you can pick up piggyback on this and so I can ask this question. Why was that not taught to us sooner, even though the people before us knew that they needed time to actually sit down and relax? Because the doctor told them, hey, you need to slow down. Hey, you mean so? Why wasn't it stated to us by our forefathers to say, hey, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to either sit down or your physician will sit you down or life itself will sit you. There's men who had strokes and never returned. There's men who has heart attacks and never returned. So it's like, why wouldn't you tell me this before I jump out here and do this? I mean, look at what happened to you, but you let it happen to you, but never say nothing to me.
Well, I'll say this, and first of all, I'm only going to speak from the context of being in ministry, but I think some of what I'm getting ready to share will be applicable across the board. And for Carlton, Mondays is my day. I don't care what's going on. I do everything possible. There are rare occasions where there may be a funeral that I might have to participate in, as a pastor or as a part of my priestly clerical duties and responsibilities. But by and large, Mondays is my day off. And certainly after 7 p.m., I'm not doing church business. I'm watching Ratchet TV. I like Housewives of Atlanta. I like the Love and Hip Hop show series. I enjoy going out, hanging out with my friends. And so after 7 p.m.,
Ratchet
I'm off
TV.
the I'm off the clock. Oh yeah, that's what I call it, Ratchet TV. I'm off the clock. But Coach Jay, there's something else you tapped into, and it kind of goes back to the comments I made a few minutes ago about how many of us men and males are raised to be the providers, to provide security, and that if you're not out of your home at the crack of dawn, and if you're not doing physical labor, and we haven't even talked about that yet this evening, that just because you may have a white collar type job or sit behind the desk does not make it any less stressful or rigorous than some person who works out in 90-degree weather all day long. I mean, mental work is sometimes just as strenuous as physical work. That's another
And we are
conversation for
no,
another
and we
day.
are and we are coming around that mountain, bro.
That's another conversation for another day. However, going back to the question you put on the floor, and that is, why is it that our forefathers did not teach us this? Again, when you know better, you do better, and it's all a part of self-care.
So, Reverend China, before you say that, I want you to tackle that question as well. The question on the floor is, what is manhood to you?
Okay, what is manhood to me? Manhood is number one, is your state of being. It is not so much, and I know historically, for black men in particular, you think of manhood as being the head of the house. You earn the most, which you can be the spiritual head by all means. But it's not about how much money you earn. It's not about how many women you have or how many children you have. It's about being who God called you to be as a man. That's really what I mean. In essence, that's the simplest definition I can give. Now, the thing with manhood is that the man that God called you to be may not be the man God called me to be, but that doesn't make you any less of a man. So that's that. And also, just going back to um, also talking about why we haven't done better over the years. Just if I can take a little take the baton from Reverend Worthen, if you will. Keep in mind, in black men in particular, and black people in general, remember, 200 years ago, we were slaves, and we were taught you had to work all day and you had to work all night, and if you weren't, then you were lazy. And that still
So,
goes with some of our people. Some people today who continue to overwork themselves is because they have a fear of being called lazy. I was called lazy one time, some years ago, for taking a couple days off, and that stayed with me for a long time. And I kept trying to overwork. And one day I realized, I said, you know what? I'm working and I'm putting in all these extra hours, and I'll be dead and gone, and these people still gonna go on doing what they're doing. So I had to learn that, oh yeah, it's okay to work. It's okay to work hard, but you also have to take time to pull back. And our foreparent fathers, uh, in particular, didn't know that because they were taught you had to work sun up to sundown every day, and they wore themselves out, and that's why many of them died early. So for us, we have to take care of ourselves, but we also have to know when to pull back and say it's okay for me to take, as Reverend Worthen, takes that Monday off. I do my best to take as many Mondays off as possible. Doesn't always work, but if I can't get Monday, I get Tuesday or Thursday, one day just for me, where I don't, and I love my members, I love serving, but there's some days I don't want to go. I don't want to go to the church. I don't want to talk about him church. This is my day. He watches his ratchet TV. I'm gonna watch sports tomorrow night. My friends and family already know I'm gonna be watching the game tomorrow night. Don't bother me unless it's about the game. That's my time, and it's okay to have that. We need that because that's our
It's
time to
okay.
reach our charge.
Good, good.
Can I just jump in and shit?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Brother China, you just said something. I was at a wedding rehearsal dinner last week, and a gentleman. It never seems to fail when you're a pastor. When a person finds that out, they always want to come saddle up next to you, and it's as if they want to play Jeopardy or 21 questions to see what you may know or what you may not know about the Bible or theology. And I finally just said, brother, I'm off. I'm not here to do church or be interrogated about what I know about the Bible or ministry. I honestly said that. I said, I'm off. Now, if you want to schedule a time on Tuesday, and I said in a very sarcastic way, but I was so serious. I'm like, because I could see the game, the angle here.
Oh yeah.
You want
Oh
to see how much you know and see if you can impress me, or if whatever it was, I'm off.
yeah. He said if you want to schedule some time on Tuesday, but today I'm off. No, so my question is, man, that mentality that we have taken from our forefathers still resides on the inside of us and it breathes through us. Do we feel like as we change and as Carlton said, do we feel less of a man because we have white collar jobs and we don't do the hard back breaking job? Because society says that if you have a white collar job, you took the easy way out and you probably get your nails done, you probably get a facial and everything like that. But they want somebody with calluses in their hand and their knuckles hanging out the
Well, that
skin and
well,
all of that.
I'll say this, and first of all, skincare is also a part of self care, fellas. So it's okay
Yes,
to
it
take care
is. Please.
of your
Yeah,
skin.
it
It
is.
doesn't diminish your manhood or masculinity in any old kind of way. But I will say this: there have been times, there have been times. I mean, even now, where and I hope if my church members are watching or listening, they don't take this the wrong way. But one thing I have learned is when you know how to build systems in teams, it helps to make your load a lot easier when you are a leader. And so there have been occasions where, because you have a system built, you can see how that system is beginning to really work. And it'll almost make you look like you're being lazy or that you're not pulling your fair share of the weight. And perhaps some of that is anchored in the fact that there are times where if we have the stigma per se that you may be being lazy, when we all know that's actually not the case at all. Sometimes it testifies that you've been able to build the system, or you know how to delegate properly to help shift the load of work so it doesn't all fall on your back.
Show enough, show enough. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm not sure who's working back here, backstage for it. I don't know if it's LB or my sissy, but put that last question up. Well,
Yeah, I saw
okay,
something float
there
by,
you
but
go,
I was
there you
trying
go.
to keep
So
contact with the
I
camera, so
know.
I couldn't look
All
down.
right, so Adam, answer that question.
Are they synonymous? I'd say yes, in a way, but at the same time, there are some differences because masculinity in particular deals with what refers to roles or behaviors and attributes that are considered appropriate for boys and men.
Listen,
That's
there's some women that's masculine
masculinity.
too. So there's some women that's masculine too. So I don't know.
Well,
Those I don't know
but
those sides
that's
of
the textbook definition, I'll say.
right.
But understand that, as I said before, manhood in particular is about it's not always biological. Masculinity deals most with our biology.
Biology.
Manhood is more about, again, the person that God called us to be. So they're not always synonymous. In some cases they are, but they're not always synonymous. So I think we can't give a blanket definition of that. But I would say when it comes to, again, masculinity, it's about what makes us
What makes us
a
who we
man.
are,
You know,
a man.
what is
Right.
it, your attributes? What is it that makes you a man, and your characteristics, your personal
Definitely.
characteristics?
Definitely.
Because, again, as I said before, and I think society as a whole we've made I guess masculinity by how macho you are, and that's not always the case. That's not always the case. Though, just going back to what was shared a minute ago by you, Coach, and by you, Worthen, that there are some people who feel like, if you don't have a blue collar job, uh, you're not masculine. That's not the case at all. I don't have a blue collar job. I'm at my church, just about every day, or doing something for the church just about every day. I don't get my hands that dirty that often, to do yard and anything else. That doesn't mean I can't. It's just that my job is not called for that. But at the
I
same
understand.
time, that doesn't make me any less of a man, and doesn't make me any less masculine. Your masculinity is tied to your thought process and your characteristics more so than what you do for a living.
So let me throw this out here. Let me throw this out here. So I'm looking at the words of the song. We still talking about what can a brother do for me. We are unraveling the we're unraveling what people or what society says manhood is and or what manhood should be. So part of the song, it says, I'm standing here alone, trying to face another day. Gotta stay strong to endure this pain I'm dealing with right now. It flipped my whole life upside down. I don't want your help and I don't need your sympathy. How many times have you, felt like this? And what did you do? And why didn't you ask for help?
I can't say that has been my case. I'm quick to ask for help. I don't know if it's just the way that I was raised. I don't know if it's because I saw the team effort between my mother and father, as well as the extended family. But I'm quick to ask for help, and I do not play the expert. I recall there was a situation a while back. I was visiting with a young lady, and something happened to, I think there was a fuse or a light, something had, it was an electrical type problem. And there seemed to be this expectation that I was going to go in there and fix it. And I said to the young lady, unfortunately, that's not my lane. I'm not going to go in there and shock myself, electrocute myself. But I tell you what I can do. I can go to Google, and we can find some local electricians, and we can go through a process of vetting them. But if you think I'm about to be around here playing
Oh
with
man.
electricity, that's not me. I take my automobile, I take my vehicle to the mechanic shop. I don't even try to fix on it. So, no, I'm not your electrician. No, I'm not your car mechanic or whatever else. And so, no, I go ask for help. And
I
it
get
don't
it.
make me no less than a man.
Man, it make you smart. Yeah. Adam?
Yeah, and I agree. It does not make you any less than a man, but there's some people who feel like that.
Hmm.
Some men in particular who feel like that if they say I can't do this. I'm reminded of remember the Cosby Show when Cliff would always have to try to fix the doorbell, and it always made a bad sound no matter
And,
what.
and,
He
and
just
just
couldn't
messed
get
it
that
up
straight.
even more.
Yeah, he always had
Or,
to mess it up
or,
because
or what the one he had to fix the kitchen sink too?
yeah, had to hit the
And
same, yeah.
man,
And in the bathroom one time, and Claire had to
yeah.
call in somebody to come help do, the plumbers because he was
Oh
an
yeah, the young
excellent.
kid, the teens that fix the oh yeah, I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
We
Yeah, no,
telling
no,
hey, we
you're
telling our
right.
age and everything. We telling our age and everything.
But he had
Go
to
ahead,
call him
man.
in because that was out of his wheelhouse. He was an excellent doctor. He could deliver babies. That was his thing. All this other stuff was not. That wasn't his thing at all. And I know for me, I mean, I do what I can do, But I also know, listen, that ain't for me. I know what's not for me, and I'm not gonna make a bigger mess trying to, impress you, trying to show you I can. I am not a jack of all trades. I can do what I can do, but I also know what I can't do, and what I can't do, I don't mind calling in somebody else.
Oh,
I've had people call me in to do what they need. So
And
I
I
understand.
know how to get out there and ask for references when we're trying to find somebody to get the
Exactly,
job done.
exactly. So
Are
yeah,
you insured? Are you
hey, man,
bonded?
bonded,
No,
right? All of that,
he
no,
said,
we
I know
ain't
all the
dealing.
right questions to ask. Like, hey, I'm your man for the right questions, man.
right?
Just
We
answer
ain't
that.
dealing with shade tree either. No,
Man,
I want
shit.
somebody to know what they doing.
I
You
mean,
know,
and let me,
my uncle used to do it.
yeah, Uncle, right? Okay. I mean, I know again, like for me, I've had like there's some things I've learned to do. I have gone to YouTube on a couple of occasions and I can figure something out, and that's great. But at the same time, I also know, what, I'm not even about to put myself in this position to try to say that I have learned over the years with my vehicles. I can listen to it, or I can say, you know what, I bet this, and that. That's great. I can tell you what's wrong, but I'm not the one to fix it. There have been times I've been able to again go on YouTube and I can walk my way through this or that. But the other times I've said, I'm not even about to do this. I needed the alternator change in my car once. And I did all I, looked at, and I said, I knew exactly what it was, but I also had enough sense to know that's not for me. So I kindly went to my mechanic and had him fix it. And I'm still a man, and I'm no less than a man because I couldn't do
And I ain't gonna lie, they sitting there throwing that shade, talking about y'all know how to use Google. Ha 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 ha. We sure do. Some of
it.
us even got
And
Siri.
as Reverend Worthen said, I can use Google to find somebody to do this job.
Hey, I get it. So there was a question, man, posted, I think a couple of months ago, maybe in our Christ Connection and Conversations group. It says, no. Think it was a clip that they showed, and Steve Harvey was talking about him not being able to be a house husband. Is there anything wrong with a man being a house husband but still being the man of the house?
Let me say this. If that works in your house for you and your spouse, that's wonderful. It wouldn't work for me. That's just me. I need to get up and do something. I say that because I always felt like, you know what, if you're not man doesn't get up and go to work and so forth, then you have a problem. And I have a friend I used to work with. I worked in television media for many years, and he left his job and he was the assignment manager. I'm sorry, yeah, assignment manager for our television station. And he left the job because his wife had an opportunity. She got a job, and it was a lot more money, which was great. But she couldn't do her job, and he'd do his job when they had two young children. So at least for a few years, he stayed home and took care of the children. And to her credit, she still respected him as the man because he did everything else, and that worked for them. And so it's not for me to say it won't work for them; it just won't work for me. Again, I just something about working. So several years ago, I was this is I guess about 18, 19 years ago. I got laid off from my job, and I was miserable. I was looking for a job every day, and I was miserable because I felt like I needed to work. I needed to work, and I'm reminded of that scripture where Paul said, "If a man doesn't work, he doesn't eat." And so I still live by that. So I'm not saying that it's wrong if that's what a husband and wife come together and decide. God bless them. I just know for me that wouldn't work.
Coach Jay, I'll say this.
I, I was waiting.
Uh,
I want to hear this one.
I'll say this, and I'll share with the listening, viewing audience what I've shared with some of my members.
Adam, I was just about to hold
Yes,
on. I was just about to tell you to drink your water so we can sit back and hear this story because I know a story coming. Come on, Carlson, bring
uh,
it on, brother.
yes, I'm a pastor, and I have many failures. And one of the failures I have was in marriage. So I am divorced, been divorced now for about 15 years. So I flunked when it came to the marriage thing. Now, what all happened, all that ain't none of your business, audience. If you want to talk privately, personally, that's a different story. But this husband type thing, or a man that doesn't have a job, keeps the house. It's just something in us, I believe, the way God created us. And you cannot be a provider, provide security, if you're not about your business as well. Now, how that's defined is a totally different conversation.
Say
Some
that.
may
Say
define it
that.
differently than others. But what I do believe is that when you have a man and a woman who are coming together, uh, that man, the man especially, if he is truly a man, wants to feel that he is contributing something of value to this relationship when it comes to making the queen of his life, uh, her life a little bit easier. I heard a while back, Kevin Hart had made a comment. I was sharing this with someone a few days ago, but Kevin Hart made a comment about how his household works. And he was very transparent and made it clear, as if we didn't know, that because of his financial status, obviously he's able to afford a lot of comforts that many other people are not able to afford. But he said this that I thought was very interesting. He says, for those of you who are married, those of you who are living together, don't allow culture to dictate what works for you and your significant other, or you and your spouse. That's a conversation that the two of you have to have. And whatever that agreement is, you do everything you can to live up to that agreement. So if you're going to be soccer dad while she's off being the hot shot corporate executive type individual or whatever, because her career path makes considerable more money than you do, then we need to understand that taking care of a house, taking care of children, that's not a part-time job, that's a full-time job. And what a responsible man will understand is, even if he's blessed to earn more than the lady, and she's not in the position to have to work as much per se, that he should not dismiss or minimize the contribution and the work that she
Yep.
also does in the
Yep.
home. So I just see it going both ways. If I could sum it up in just a short phrase: do not allow culture to shape or dictate how you will run your relationship. The two of you come to that conclusion.
And thank you for sharing that. And also, let's keep in mind too, that it's a difference between a man who sacrifices, to help take care of the house while his wife works, and a man who just refuses to work. There's a big difference. We have to keep that in mind. Now, if you have a man who's
Sure
willing to
enough.
sit back so that his wife can fly, in her career field, that's one thing. But it's something different when he just refuses to work. That's another story altogether. So we have to
Oh,
be sure
oh
we
yeah.
know the difference between the two. Ladies, don't you go home, go to work all day and come home tired while he's been laying up all day playing video games and eating. Be
Now,
sure he
coach,
contributes as much as you.
Now, Coach Jay, unfortunately, I did not see or hear that clip. Would you mind sharing with us, if you recall, what Steve Harvey's thoughts were on that? If I know anything about Steve Harvey's personality, he was not cool with that.
Now, here's the thing. Yes and no. The thing was, cool. If that's what y'all gonna do, cool. That's what y'all gonna do. But a man is going to have some type of income coming in that house. He's gonna have a hustle. He gonna bake cookies, deliver salads. He gonna make Easter egg baskets. He gonna do something to contribute to that house because, like Adam said, bro, like I gotta work. And I'm
Yeah.
like you, man. I had shoulder surgery on both shoulders. They did one shoulder. It was 2.5, 3 months for that one to heal. They turned around and did the next shoulder. 3 months for that to heal. So I was off like 7 months.
Hmm.
When it was time for me to go back to work, I ran to the first job that said, "Come on, black boy, come on, we want you." The first
Hmm.
one. And when they said, "Hey, you mind working 7 days?" No, I do not. because I ain't working a whole bunch of 7 days. So let's go ahead, because that's just me. But to that point, if my wife made 100 grand a year, 110 a year, man, look, I'll be Betty Crocker. I'll be Aunt Jemima. Look, I'll be the Cub Scout, Girl Scout, Boy Scout, soccer. Look, I'm gonna be it all. However, I am going to have my own business, whether I trade the stock market, whether I collect coins, whether I have a wine collection or an art collection I'm going to do something. I'm going to have my own money coming in the house to contribute to what we going on. Shoot, you make 100,000 a year. Now we make 160,000 a year because that's what we put. I'm gonna do something. I'm just not. I can't just sit and chill. I can't just sit and chill. I can't. There was a question that I wanted Carlton to answer, but it's not up there just as of yet. Let's see how fast it gets back up there. And it has not gotten back up there just yet. So we're going to go to this next one. When you say, oh, never mind. There, voila. See, come on, Vanna White, help a brother out. So Carl said, I won't get beat up for this one. Trust me, I won't get beat up for this one. But Carlson, can you answer that question? Oh, it went away. My bad.
Is there
Did you see
something that women is there something that women do that adds to the concept of toxic masculinity?
it? Baby, you ain't got enough time to answer that one. Because go ahead. Carl, that's on you, Carlson. Shoot, that's a
No,
hard one.
I see, and I'm pausing. Let me try to. I'm gonna make an effort to wade through this. I
Adam,
think it
don't
goes.
Adam, come
I,
on, you next, buddy.
I think it kind of goes back to the first series of comments that I made when we first began talking about the mental health piece. And that is if you're not careful and okay and comfortable with being who you are, being your authentic self, it is so easy to get pulled into the quicksand of a toxic type of environment or situation that you will find yourself in that's very challenging and difficult to get out of. So now, when you talk about women I will say this: if you are secure and confident in who you are as a man, I don't think any woman or any other person for that matter can make you do something that you don't want to do. Now, I will say this, and I've mentioned this to my congregation before. Love is a very funny and tricky thing. Love will cause you and make you do things that you know is not always in your best interest or for your better good. For example, let's take little Pookie and Ray Ray, just making up a name. Pookie and Ray Ray are constantly in and out of trouble with the law. But because that mama or that grandmama is just still has that motherly love for their child or their grandchild, will go and mortgage their home sometimes to get their child out of jail, will go and borrow money from banks or credit unions to help pull them out because they're always hopeful that Pookie or Ray Ray is going to turn the corner and do something better. What does that have to do with the masculinity and toxicity and everything? It has something to do with it because oftentimes we know when we're in something that is unhealthy, and yet we still choose to stay in it. Why? Because we are under the banner of love, perhaps. It makes it a challenge. It's not always as easy to get out of. It's almost as if you have that person who's standing on the outside seeing that woman who's being a victim of domestic violence. And people continue to wonder, well, why doesn't she just leave? Why don't she just do this, et cetera, et cetera? Well, it's easy for you to stand on the outside and be very condemning and judgmental when you really don't understand the shoes that that person is walking in.
Um, and I agree with what you just said, but my thing when it comes to women and can they add to a toxic situation, let me share this. The two things that you have that I think women have to ask themselves in general. First and foremost is, can that man be vulnerable with you? Can he be weak with you? Because a lot of times, men who express any vulnerability to their wives or who their significant others, whoever they're with, many times they're looked at as being weak or you're less than a man. So to me, that's toxic. That man, he needs to know that when he's with you, that's a safe space for him. Secondly, and can he do that without being attacked for it? That yes, he has that weak moment. Did you? And a lot of women, they want their men, and not all. Don't get me wrong, but there are some who want their men. They say they want them a man who can be vulnerable with them, but when you're vulnerable, you're attacked. So that, to me, if that's happening, that's toxic. Secondly, you have to ask yourself, I want my man to be sensitive to me, but am I sensitive to him and his needs as well? Because eventually, what happens with men is that they feel like they can't be vulnerable or they feel like they're going to be attacked, then eventually they just stop talking altogether, and they kind of disengage in a sense. And again, this is uh, generally speaking, this is not specific, but if you want a man to be vulnerable, he has to know that he can be safe, and that you're not going to throw it up in his face later, or you're not going to attack him for it, and that you're not going to call him weak because he expressed vulnerability to you, and also being sure that yes, while you need him, and he should be sensitive to you and your needs, but you have to be sensitive to his as well. And I think if those things it's a two-way street. If that's happening, I think that cuts down significantly on the toxic nature of a relationship.
And can we run that back the other way as well, Coach Jay? Because I kind of moved it slightly in a different direction, where if the toxicity is coming from the female towards the male, I want to jump on what Brother China just shared as well, and that is, we as men need for sisters to understand that we process things a lot differently from time to time. And just because you may be ready to have a conversation about something does not always mean that the brother in that moment is ready to have that conversation. So you should not always take that or construe that this means that we're not willing to be transparent or be vulnerable or share what's on our hearts and minds. No, sometimes what we're doing is we're taking the time to literally filter through what has just transpired or what's going on before we talk with you. And I'll say this as well. Sometimes you may not want us to share just yet, because many of us men who are aware of how gentle you sometimes can be don't want our bluntness and our directness to crush you, or to suppress you or damage you in such a way that you feel as though we don't care about you when we really do. Because sometimes what we see, sisters, we look at some things that you share with us and we're like, okay, this really isn't a big deal. Okay, let's just go ahead and move on past this thing. But if we say something like that, oh, we don't care, we're not tuned in, we're insensitive, etc., etc., and now you become angry, frustrated, and then want to throw it at us.
You know what? I was gonna ask you to give us your final thoughts, but Carlton just did. He just did. He really just did, because he went where I wanted him to go, man. So we can wrap this up, man. And uh Dr. Curry just came on and said Reverend Worthington is talking that good talk tonight, and he is, man. I do thank both of you guys, man, for joining me on this weekend. As you see, the other two gentlemen could not make it, which is okay. Next time, man, next time, Curry, if you still listening, man, I want to have to get you on this show, man, because I want to give you some here's some Q&As from you. So that next time, man, I got to get with you. But Adam, uh, Righteous Rev China, can you give us your closing remarks, just like Carlton just did on his own, because that's what he do when he come on the show. Just do, he come on in and just do his thing. But man, I appreciate you both, man. You are my brothers in Christ, man. Here, now and forevermore, man. I appreciate you guys doing this. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing in the kingdom and your own how you guys are raising your own vineyard, man, and for the kingdom of God, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Job well done thus far, man. And I pray nothing but peace, love, joy, and many blessings upon you and your families, God. So Adam, can you give us your final thoughts about this manhood thing, masculinity, toxicity, why we are the way we are, and give a glimpse of hope for the women to deal with us?
Sure. For me, I say first and foremost, again, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation. But I will say, for me, and I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I had a father who showed me what it meant to be a nurturing father, not just a father. He's strong, but he also was nurturing, and so that's helped me. And I have two sons myself. One who's getting ready to graduate from high school next year, and I'm constantly reminding him, talking to him, letting him know it's okay to come to me, and that it's okay because of the things that you are starting to deal with. I've already dealt with, and I'm still dealing with it, and I think that helps. We hope that opens up our lines of communication. When he knows it's okay to come and say, "Dad, I'm scared," or "Dad, I'm not sure," or whatever the case may be. And I think that helps him, and I'm trying to model that for him and for both my sons actually. And so I think that helps. And again, it just at the end of the day, it's just we as men, we need our women. Okay, and again, whether you're married or single, whatever the case, we all need our women, and therefore we appreciate them when they have our backs, and knowing that the same way they carry a heavy load, we do too, and we need one another. So I'm grateful for the sisters who are watching and who are supporting the men in their lives in one way or another. So again, thanks so much for this opportunity.
Man, once again, this is a C3 moment, man. Christ connections and conversations. This is the brotherhood, man. This is men talk, man. This is what can a brother do for me? He can help me be the best man I can be. Man, until we meet again, man, he is I am he, I am forever and always will be your friend, your brother, your neighbor, just that good guy to know from the city and state of Detroit, Michigan. Coach Jay Hart saying peace, love, joy, hair grease, and all that other stuff, man. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.